All right, so today we're going to be continuing our review over the fact exam. These problems that we're going to go over has a little bit of net present value, IRR, and then some definition kind of based questions. So kind of a little bit of simpler questions in a way. Let's go ahead and get started with number 15. SAT Corp is considering the purchase of a new piece of machinery that will cost them $1,800,695 today in 2010. This piece of machinery, however, will increase the company's after-tax cash flows by $500,000 in 2011, $750,000 in 2012, $1 million in 2013. If SAT Corp's discount rate is 10%, then the NPV of making this purchase is, okay, so right away we're looking for the NPV. That's what they're asking us for. So in this number 15, we're going to be using the NPV formula. Let's see. So we purchased a new machine, a new piece of machinery for $1,800,000. We're basically giving that money away. So this number that when we enter into the formula, it's going to be negative. That's the amount that we're paying. If we go ahead and set up kind of the NPV formula just to look at how it's going to look. This is what we're going to basically put in there. It starts with the rate. A rate is also given. If SAT Corp's discount rate is 10%, that's the discount rate. We can go ahead and just put that in. All right. Now our values are going to be the cash flows. We're given 3 different cash flows for 3 different years. We have a first cash flow of $500,000, second of $750,000, and then a third cash flow of $1 million. So our 3 cash flows, that's going to be the 3 values we enter into the formula. We'll start with $500,000, $750,000, and $1 million. And we're going to close the parentheses, and we're going to include now this $1,800,000 that we paid for the machinery. That's a cash outflow. That's how much we paid for the machine to basically obtain it. So we're going to include that by subtracting $1,800,695. And this is basically our NPV formula. This is everything that we have to put in it, everything that we were given. We were given the cash flows, how much we paid for it, and our discount rate. We go ahead and look at it. It's going to return as a percentage. We want the dollar amount. You just press the dollar amount, and it'll be 24,999. So the net present value rounded up is $25,000, which is C.
Yeah, so the key there is anytime you use NPV, the first number is always assuming a year from now. So you can't put the costs in there. So yeah, I thought that was kind of strange. So the NPV function doesn't ask you for the costs. So it's giving the net present value of everything after time zeros. But it also assumes everything happens exactly a year from now. What's the problem? It really doesn't say that. It says in 2011. Really, they're saying $500,000 all in one day at the very end of 2011, which is not the best way to use net present value. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what they're looking for. The other answers don't make any sense at all. So that's the only one that would make sense. Yeah, good.
All right, so that's going to be 15. Go to 16. All right. 16. It's kind of a definition-based question. Let's see. ABC Corp is considering undertaking a new project. The project is expected to have an IRR return rate of 14%. ABC Corp, and it's asking what they should do, basically. Should undertake this project if its return on assets is less than 14%. I don't think this has anything to do with return on assets. We're looking for the return rate, which has more to tie into cost of capital, like basically how much we're spending on this project. We want to make sure that we're getting a profit back. So if we kind of look at these, we go through them all. Undertake this project since the company has already spent $20,000. We weren't given that information at all. It's no brainer. Should undertake this project if the WACC is just the weighted average cost of capital. That's exactly what we're looking for. We want to make sure that, like I said, our IRR, our return rate, is higher than our cost of capital, we want to make sure that we're getting more money back for this project. We're making a profit. Should undertake this project if its cost of capital is less than 14%, which is exactly what we're looking for. Like I said, we want to make a profit. If this WACC, like E, for example, if the cost of capital was more than 14%, that just means that we're going to be making a loss. We're going to be losing money on the project, which is not good. It's going to be C. All right. 17. What is the internal rate of return on a project costing $3,000, having after-tax cash flows of $1,500 in each of the 2 years of its 2-year life? It has a salvage value of $800 at the end of the second year, in addition to the $1,500 cash flow. All right, so we're going to be investing $3,000 into this project. We're looking for the rate of return. So if I kind of just jot our information down that we know, our initial investment is going to be this $3,000. So we have the $3,000 investment. That's going to be a negative $2,000 because we are giving that money away to be able to invest in this project. So it's basically the cost. It's how much it's going to cost us, $3,000. We have a cash flow coming in of $1,500 in each of the 2 years. So the total cash flow we're going to get in 2 years is going to be $3,000. That's split in 2 years. We're going to get $1,500 in each year. So we're going to put year one. Our year one cash flow is going to be $1,500. And we can also put that for year two, because we're going to get the same $1,500. Now we are given a salvage value as well. It says there's a salvage value of $800 at the end of the second year, in addition to the $1,500 cash flow. So we're going to add this $800 because we're going to add this $800 to the second year, because that's whenever they tell us that it's given to us. It also does say in addition, so that's, we're clearly supposed to add to the second year. So we'll add the 1,500 plus the 800. And that'll give us 2,300 for year two. Now we are looking for the IRR, so we're going to plug this into the internal rate of return formula. And we have all of our values right here. We just take them, enter them in, and it'll return us a rate of return of 16%, which is C.
Again, that's assuming all the cash flows are exactly 1 year away, which is not the most useful. I always use XIRR, but IRR. If you have a project where the cash flows are exactly 1 year apart, then you can use IRR. XIR, you tell them the dates of all the cash flows, so you have more control over it. So you have to put the dates in there. You don't have the dates, but yeah.
Okay. All right. Number 18. Which of the following is the best description of the goal of the financial manager of a public corporation? For A, we have maximize the shareholders' wealth by maximizing share value. B, we have maximize profits, which is pretty close. C, maximize the number of outstanding shares. D, keep share price stable. And E, maximize market share. All right. So I believe this one is going to be A, maximizing the shareholders' wealth by maximizing share value. It kind of encompasses all these answers. If we're maximizing our share value and our shareholders' wealth, it means our company is doing good. It means we are profitable, which is B as well. We're maximizing profits. It includes that in A. It means we're basically, everything is firing on all cylinders and we're doing good. A encompasses everything. The rest of the options are kind of too particular, even though, yeah, they're too particular.
Yeah, C and D
I don't want
makes
to keep them.
sense. E and E are kind of second tier. Yeah.
Should just make that more clear, but it's all good.
I mean, the big debate is maximizing social value, but from finance, we still say maximize shareholder value. Yeah, good.
Which of the following is a source of cash to the firm? Increase in fixed assets, increase in accounts receivable, reduction in the equity account, reduction of inventory, none of the above are a source of cash. So right off the bat, number A, an increase in fixed assets does not necessarily mean that we're going to have money coming in. That's for kind of future. Assets are kind of based towards the future.
Well, I think what they're saying there, if you increase fixed assets, that means you must have bought a fixed asset.
Yeah, so
So
basically.
it's a cash outflow.
Okay, so increase in fixed assets, we're actually, okay, we're buying the assets, so we're not increasing our cash. We have B, increase in accounts receivable. I could technically see how this would work. Accounts receivable, if accounts receivable is going up, that means we're basically entitled to more cash. However, we're not going to be receiving that cash yet, especially not right now. We're not going to be receiving that cash. It could be at an unforeseen time. Reduction in the equity account. Reducing our equity is not going to increase cash. That's not really tied into cash particularly. Reduction of inventory. I would say yes. That is a direct source of cash because our inventory consists of our product that we're going to be selling. If our inventory decreases, that means our product is selling to customers, which means that we're going to be getting cash for our product. So it would be D, yes.
They're using a really technical definition or source of cash, because obviously you could sell your inventory on receivable. There's no cash, but they're saying technically cash goes up when receivables go down, inventory goes down, payables go up. So that's what they're really after. So remember your working capital accounts. Any working capital asset, if it goes up, it reduces cash. If it goes down, it increases cash. Any working capital liability, like accounts payable, they go up, that increases cash. I think that's what they're after. That's why I think that's why they have the word source of cash in quotes. But yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, D makes the most sense.
At first I thought it was like B, and then I saw the reduction in inventory and I was like, it makes sense because we're selling.
The technical is if you have an income statement and balance sheet, you can get the cash from operations. And when you do that, take net income, you subtract it, the change in receivables. So higher receivable reduces. You subtract the change in inventory, so higher inventory reduces. That's what they're talking about. How do you get from the income statement to balance sheet to the cash flow statement? It's net income minus the change in accounts receivable, minus the change in inventory, plus the change in accounts payable. So an increase in receivables, increase in inventory reduces cash, a reduction in receivable, reduction in inventory increases cash, and the increase in accounts payable increases cash, a reduction. That's what they're after here. Just how you're doing the actual math and creating the financial statement.
Okay, you see that. Number 20, break-even analysis is a technique for determining that point at which sales will just cover total costs, variable costs, fixed costs, sunk costs, or direct costs. So break-even analysis, we're basically the company is trying to determine that specific point to where we will break even covering all of our costs. That includes variable, fixed, sunk, and direct. It's not, break-even analysis isn't trying to find a particular one. It's trying to cover all the costs to be able to make sure that we're not negative. So it's going to be A. This is Matthew Ghetto with the Investment Society. We're going to continue over the fact exam review, do a couple of questions here, 21 through 25. And then we'll cover 25 through 30 at a later time. Number 21, you own a portfolio. You are considering buying another stock to add to the portfolio. In which of the following situations would you get the largest amount of risk reduction? We have A, the stock's return moves in the same direction as your portfolio's return. The stock's return is independent on the movement of your portfolio's return.
C, the stock's return moves in an opposite direction to your portfolio's return. And D, the stock provides a very low risk-free return of 1% per year. So what we want to be looking for in the relationship between our portfolio and the risk reduction is kind of we want to be looking for like a negative correlation, which would be C here. It says the stock's return moves in the opposite direction in the portfolio's return. That negative correlation just provides more benefits for us, and that's what we want to be looking for in this scenario. So it's going to be C. Number 22. Currently, the risk-free rate of return is 10%, and the expected return on the market portfolio is 20%. The stock of GHJ Corp has a beta of 1.8. The expected return of the stock based on the CAPM would be. All right. So for this one, I did include the formula already that we're going to be kind of plugging this into, just so we can see it. Whenever I'm actually plugging it in, you can have something to visually see. KE is what we're looking for here. It's going to be the expected return. That is what we're being asked of to find. And then RF is going to be our risk-free rate of return, which is the 10%. So we're going to plug that into this, plus our beta, which we are given our beta of 1.8. And then we multiply our beta by the expected return on stocks, which is going to be the 20% market portfolio minus the risk-free rate of 10%. So we can go ahead and just plug that in. Let's do 10%, 10 plus our beta of 1.8 multiplied by the expected return, which is 20%, minus the risk-free rate of 10%. A little inconsistent here, but let me just change it for consistency's sake. I'll put the decimals. I'll try it. I think you have to have the time sign. That's going to return 28. It's asking for percentages, obviously. So we'll turn that into a percentage, and that's going to be B, 28%.
It's the same formula, but we can break it out a little bit more. So we'll just do this. We'll just do the algebra. So it's risk-free rate plus, so we have beta times the expected return on stocks, and then beta times minus risk-free rate. So I'm going to put that next. I'm going to do the risk-free rate first. It's beta minus beta times the risk-free rate. And then plus, we'll do the last part. So we're going to do risk-free rate minus beta times the risk-free rate, because that's minus, and then plus beta times the expected return. So then it's just a matter of plugging in the numbers. So you can see from the problem, the expected return of the market portfolio is 13. Stock has a beta of 1.2. Expected return of the stock, of this stock's XYZ, is 15%. So we know that 15% is going to equal the risk-free rate. We said the risk-free rate on this one is,
That's what we're looking for.
oh, that's what we're looking for. So risk-free rate, put that in, plus beta. Here our beta is 1.2. So minus risk-free rate times 1.2 plus beta times expected return on the market portfolio is 13. So if you do that math, you have 0.15 equals, so there you have risk-free rate minus 1.2 risk-free rate. So that's minus 0.2 risk-free rate plus 1.2 times 0.13, that's 15.6 plus 0.156. You just keep doing the math. So here we have minus 0.2 risk-free equals minus 0.15 plus 1.56. If y'all saw what I did, I took the minus 0.2. That should be positive. I took the minus 0.2 and subtracted from this side, so I got positive 0.2 risk-free rate equals, I take the 15 over here, so minus 15 plus 0.156. So that gets us to 0.2 risk-free equals 0.006. So the risk-free is going to equal 0.006 divided by 0.2, and that's going to equal 0.03, so 3%. Now, I don't know why they don't give you 3% in the numbers, but that looks like, is B the right answer? You got it. So now what you need to do is check the numbers. So we know KE is going to equal the risk-free rate, 0.03, plus beta, 1.2, times expected return on the market, 0.13, minus 0.03. So that's going to equal 0.03 plus 1.2 times 0.1. It's equal 0.03 plus, that's going to equal 0.15. Is that the right answer? And there it is. Yeah. So the nice thing about these problems is you can work with all the algebra, but then just plug all the numbers in afterwards and make sure you get the right answer. It's kind of nice. If you did the algebra wrong, you plug it all in and you discover you subtracted when you should have added, and then you get the wrong answer. So here you can check, so you know exactly that 3% is exactly right, because 3% plus 1.2 times 10% gives you exactly the 15.
24, increasing the percentage of debt in a firm's capital structure has the effect of increasing the risk of the firm, decreasing the risk of the firm, not changing the risk of the firm, or cannot tell without more information. So we're going to be increasing the percentage of debt here. Obviously that it's going to take a direct effect on the risk of the firm. If we're getting more debt, it's going to be a kind of a riskier investment in general. We could take a loss, we could go bankrupt. There's lots of variables with that tie into debt. So that is going to increase the risk of the firm. That's going to be number A. All right, 25, a current ratio that is above average and a quick asset test ratio that is below average would indicate that the firm is using too much debt financing, should tighten up its credit policy, is not keeping its costs under control, is holding excessive inventory, or none of the above. The current ratio and quick ratio measure the same thing. We can go ahead and just mark E off, right? Because the current ratio and quick ratio measure, they don't really measure the same thing. The current ratio, whenever it takes into account, the current ratio takes into account inventory whenever it's counting its assets. The quick ratio does not take into account inventory whenever it's measuring its current assets. So if we do have a current ratio that is above average, I would assume automatically that we have a larger amount of inventory there. And we have a quick ratio that is below average, I'd assume that we do have a large amount of inventory there because the quick ratio doesn't take into account inventory. So that's why it would be lower. Got our answer choices here. Too much debt financing, should tighten up its credit policy, is not keeping its costs under control. And then D is holding excessive inventory. It's exactly what we're looking for, D. We have to know how inventory ties into both of these ratios and the effect that it has on it. So that's going to be D. Alrighty, this is Matthew Guetta with the Investment Society. We're going to be covering the last 5 problems here of the fact exam, 26 through 30. Let's get started. Number 26 says, consider ABC Corp. The firm had sales of $2 million last year with a net profit margin of 6%. Its total assets last year was $1 million. What is the firm's return on assets? ROA. All right, so we're already given some numbers here. We had $2 million in sales last year, net profit margin 6%, and total assets last year was also $1 million. And we are being asked, what is the firm's return on assets? So if we go ahead and calculate the net income, we take this $2 million of sales last year times our net profit margin. Visualize it for us. 6%. Plug it in. So we take the 2 million sales times the 6%. Let's give us 120,000 of our net income. To get our return on assets, we need to take our net income and divide it by our total assets. So we calculated 120,000 to be our net income. So our total assets would just be this 1 million. It's given to us. It's total assets last year was 1 million. So we already know total assets was 1 million. So we just kind of plug this in to the net income divided by total assets. Divided by our 1 million. I'll give us 12 and we make it a percentage of 12%. Return on assets is going to be E, more than 11%. 27, Cooks needs to free up some cash by managing its inventories. Currently, Cooks has annual cost of goods sold of 1,600,000 and an average inventory balance of 450,000. How much cash will become available if Cooks can shorten its average age of inventory by 8 days, 365 days in a year, and choose the nearest thousand number? They are rounded. All right, so if we go ahead and start, we need to find our cost of goods sold days in our inventory. The way we're going to do this is I'm going to plug these first numbers into equation. Our average inventory balance, 450,000. Our cost of goods sold, 1,600,000, and 365 days a year. This is what it's going to look like. We're going to start with the 450,000 of our inventory balance times our 365 days divided by our 1,600,000. Go and plug that in. Okay, 65 divided by 1. That'll give us our cost of goods sold days and then we are asked how much cash will become available if Cooks can shorten its average age of inventory by 8 days. So right here, this is where we're going to subtract the 8 days. We want to subtract it from here, not the actual 365 days itself. So we subtract 8 days. That's 8. It's going to give us our new days. Let's see. So that'll give us our new days of 94.66. So this is the new number that we're going to plug in, basically kind of like a reverse formula here to get back our new inventory balance. And then we're just going to take the difference, and that's going to give us our answer here. So if we go ahead and plug this into, it's going to be 1,000,000 of our cost of goods sold times our new days of 94.66 divided by 365 days. That's going to be the formula. So if I go ahead and plug that in, times 4.66 divided by 365. This is going to be our new average inventory balance. So then we just take the difference. So our old inventory balance is 450,000. Inventory is this 414,948. Oh, I'm sorry. All we're going to do is take the difference. The difference is going to be our answer. So we go ahead and just take the difference. You can even just get 35,052. It says choose the nearest thousand number. It's going to be A, $35,000.
Yeah, I looked it up, and so the 450 times 365 or 1.6 million is the way the internet said the formula works. It's not the way I learned it, so that's why I get confused. So I would know, inventory turn, I would learn that formula. Inventory turn is cost of goods sold over inventory. And that's 3 point something times a year. And to me, days sales and inventory is 365 divided by the turnover. So that's the way I've learned. You still get the 102 when you do that.
So just come out to the same answer then.
You get the same answer. It's just, I don't want people confused. I had another professor. So your formula is there. Yeah, you take inventory times 365 divided by the cost of goods sold. But the way I'm used to it is 1.6 million divided by 450,000. That gives you 3 point something. You take 365 divided by that, and that gives you the days sell. Same thing on receivable turnover. Receivable turnover is sales divided by receivables. Days sales and receivables 365 divided by that. Or in your case, you would take receivables times 365 divided by sales. But yeah, so they may switch the question between inventory turnover and receivable turnover. So if this had been receivables, you do the exact same thing, except for you would use sales instead of cost of goods sold and use accounts receivables instead of inventory, but you would have gotten the same, if that, you see what I mean?
They would have given us the accounts receivable number, right? Because
Yeah, they give us accounts receivable and they would have given us revenue, sales instead of cost of goods sold. So for inventory, use cost of goods sold. For receivables, use sales. Okay, yeah, the formula be the same. So yeah, you're doing the formula different the way I learned it, but looking on the internet, it is taught the way you do it too. So it depends on which professor you get. I don't want someone who takes me to get confused because I do 365 over the ratio. So all right, good.
that one's probably the trickiest one. 27. Number 28. We're given a table here. It says use the financial statements for ABC Corp shown below to answer questions 28 and 29. First, compute and fill in the blank squares for EBIT, EBT, taxes, and EAT or net income. So we can go ahead and just kind of fill it out. It does tell us to do that, but it kind of ties into our answers as well. Number 28, the net income for ABC Corp in 2010 based on the information given above is, all right, let's just go ahead and fill it out. So we're given sales, $100, cost of goods sold, $50, depreciation, $10, and then earnings before interest and tax, EBIT. To get our EBIT, all we're going to do is take our sales, subtract it from cost of goods sold. So we're going to subtract cost of goods sold from sales, and then subtract our depreciation as well. They're both going to be negative, minus to sales revenue. So we're going to take the 100 minus 50 minus 10. It's going to give us our earnings before interest and taxes, $40. So then if we go ahead and do interest of $15, we're asked our earnings before taxes, EBT. We're going to take our earnings before interest and taxes, and we're going to subtract the interest from that. So it's going to be 40 minus 15. $40, 15 our interest. It's going to be 25. 25 is going to be our earnings before taxes. And then we're asked to calculate the taxes. It says our tax rate is 30%. So we're going to take our 25 of earnings before taxes and apply that 30% tax rate to it. So we'll do times 30%. It's going to give us 7.5 in taxes. So then if we just take our 25 earnings before taxes, subtract our taxes of 7.5, that will give us our earnings after taxes or net income. Minus taxes. Our net income is going to be 17.5. And 28 asks us Net income for ABC Corp in 2010, based on the information given above, is we calculate our net income of 17.5. It's going to be C. And then number 29, the operating cash flow for ABC Corp in 2009, based on information given above, is to calculate our operating cash flow. All we're going to do is take our net income that we already calculated and add our depreciation to it. That's going to give us just we have depreciation right here. So if I do operating, take our net income plus depreciation, going to give us 27.5. It's going to be E, operating cash flow. Number 30, an unusually low turnover of accounts receivable, which implies a very long average collection period or days sales outstanding, would indicate that the firm is very easy in its credit policy, it's very easy in its collection policy, offers a very little discount, and thus encourages late payment, or all of the above. This one's going to be all of the above. All of these are indicators of what we're being asked, and they all kind of relate to each other. It's going to be D.
Yeah, A means that the people aren't paying them back because they can't. They're insolvent. B means they owe them in 30 days. And we did that when I did accounts payable. If the vendor doesn't penalize you for paying late, then you pay late because it's, you get to keep the money later. So if they don't penalize you, and then
Encourage
if they don't give you any kind of discount for paying early, or why pay early? So yeah, I agree with that. I don't know what other question they get asked there. That's one of those things where they probably have 10 different questions they can ask.
Yeah, that's true. You can ask a lot.
They could ask if they have a really slow inventory turn. It could be because they bought too much inventory, kind of like what happened with Walmart, or they have obsolete inventory they can't sell. I don't know what a third reason would be. Yeah, so yeah, it'd be that kind of question. What would make these ratios go up?